The medics of Earth had one simple rule. No matter where the war was, no matter who was fighting, they were there to heal. It didn't matter if it was a soldier or a civilian, a human or an alien. Their job was to save lives, to bring peace in the middle of chaos. They traveled across the stars in white ships marked with a symbol recognized everywhere, a symbol that meant safety. It was the sign of the Geneva Compact, a law that protected them from harm. No one was supposed to hurt the medics. It was against the rules of war. For many years, this rule held strong. Even in the darkest battles, the medics were left alone. They moved between planets and space stations, healing wounds and offering hope. People respected them. They trusted them. They were the light in the endless darkness of war. But one day, everything changed. The war had spread to a distant system, one far from Earth. The fighting was brutal. Two sides, humans and aliens called the Draxians, battled fiercely over control of the region. It was a place where no one could really win without terrible loss. The medics were sent there as usual in a small fleet of hospital ships. Their mission was clear: find the wounded, heal them, and bring them back to safety. They didn't carry weapons, and they weren't there to fight. Their only strength was the knowledge that no one would dare attack them. The leader of this group was a medic known for calm and kindness. She was careful, experienced, and brave. Her team trusted her, and many soldiers and civilians called her a guardian angel. She knew the risks, but she believed in the peace that the medics represented. One day, as they traveled near the edge of the system, a call came from a damaged human battleship. It had been hit badly in a recent fight. The crew was hurt and running out of time. The medics changed course without hesitation. They moved quickly to offer help. The hospital fleet glided through space, its white lights glowing softly against the blackness. The medics prepared their equipment and medical bays. They were ready to do what they did best. But the Draxian Syndicate, a group of ruthless fighters, had other plans. They saw the medics not as healers but as enemies. They thought that if they could strike a blow against Earth's medics, they could weaken the human side's ability to fight back. The Syndicate sent out fast ships to ambush the hospital fleet. The medics were caught off guard. Their ships were slow and poorly armed, designed for healing, not battle. The Syndicate ships appeared like shadows, striking quickly. They fired weapons that tore through the shields of the hospital ships. Inside the medical bays, alarms blared. The medics scrambled to protect their patients and themselves. But they were not prepared for an attack like this. The battle was short and terrible. The leader of the medics tried to send a distress signal, but the connection was cut mid-sentence. Her voice was the last thing heard before silence fell. The ships burned one by one until nothing was left but wreckage drifting in space. No one survived. When the news reached Earth, shock and horror swept through the population. How could this happen? How could anyone attack those who only came to help? The medics were supposed to be safe. The government of Earth did not respond with calm words or slow diplomacy. Instead, anger grew. The people demanded justice. They wanted those responsible to pay. But the leaders of Earth knew that the Syndicate would not be easy to stop. The medics were vulnerable, and the war was growing more dangerous every day. They had to decide how to respond. Behind closed doors, the military pulled out plans long hidden. Plans for a group called the Reapers. These were not regular soldiers. They were humans who had once been cast aside for being too dangerous, too brutal, or too wild. They were people who had lived on the edge, surviving battles that normal soldiers could not handle. They were feared by many, even within Earth's own ranks. For years, the Reapers had been kept in cold storage, frozen and waiting. The government had hoped they would never be needed. But now, with the medics attacked and the war escalating, they had no choice. The Reapers were thawed and brought back to life, led by a hard, sharp officer who had been stripped of rank years before for crossing lines others wouldn't dare. The Reapers were given one mission: find those who killed the medics and make them pay. There was no mercy in their orders. There was only retribution. As the Reapers prepared to leave Earth's orbit, their leader looked out at the stars. He remembered the stories of the medics, the gentle healers who died without a chance to fight. Their deaths were a stain on humanity's honor. But he also knew that what the Reapers would bring was something else entirely: a reckoning. The medics had come to bring peace. The Reapers would bring war. The galaxy had never seen anything like them before. No one knew exactly where the Reapers would strike first. Their ships were dark and silent, designed to slip through enemy lines unseen. They carried weapons unlike any the war had seen, and soldiers trained for the worst. Back in the ruined system, the Draxian Syndicate celebrated their victory. They thought they had dealt Earth a crippling blow, but they didn't know what was coming next. The medics' deaths had broken a sacred rule. They had shattered the trust that made the war bearable. Now Earth would respond in a way no one expected. The Reapers were coming, and they would stop at nothing until those responsible were found. In the quiet halls of Earth's command center, the leader of the Reapers stood in front of a glowing map. Lines connected the places where the medics had last been seen. His face was cold but determined. "We were weak once," he said quietly. "We believed in rules, but rules don't protect us anymore." He looked up, eyes sharp. "They killed the innocent. Now we will bring the judgment." The room was silent. Outside, the stars blinked, unaware of the storm that was about to descend. The medics had come to heal. The Reapers would come to punish, and no one would be safe. The news of what happened to the medics spread like wildfire through Earth. It was hard for people to believe. Medics, people who only ever tried to help, to save lives, had been attacked and killed. They had been unarmed and peaceful. They had been protected by laws everyone respected. But none of that stopped the Draxian Syndicate from killing them. That fact hit everyone hard. On Earth, the atmosphere was heavy. Families, soldiers, leaders, ordinary people, all of them felt a deep, burning anger. The sense of shock slowly turned into something more dangerous, a need for justice, for answers, and for punishment. But the leaders of Earth understood something important. The Draxians were not just enemies who could be stopped with talk or small battles. They were ruthless, clever, and brutal. The medics' deaths had shattered the peace, but it had also forced Earth to consider something darker, something they had hoped never to use. Long ago, Earth had created a secret group hidden from most of the world. This group was different. They were not diplomats or ordinary soldiers. They were trained to be the opposite of medics, fighters who would do whatever it took to win. They didn't follow the usual rules. They were wild, dangerous, and often feared by those who knew about them. The government had frozen them in suspended animation, hoping never to need them again. Now, with the medics killed, it was time to wake the Reapers. The order was given quietly, behind closed doors. The Reapers were brought back to life in a cold chamber, their bodies thawing slowly. When they opened their eyes, they remembered everything. Every battle, every pain, every loss. They were ready. The war was their home. Their leader was a man known for his cold calm. Once he had been a soldier, but he had been locked away for his extreme methods. Many thought he was too harsh, too brutal. But now he was exactly what Earth needed. He understood that the world had changed. There was no place for mercy with the Syndicate. He gathered the Reapers and spoke softly but firmly. "They killed our healers," he said. "They broke the rules that held us together. They made a mistake, because now we will come for them. We will not stop until every last one responsible is found." The Reapers nodded. They did not speak much, but their eyes showed the fire inside them. They were ready to bring war to those who had started it. Far from Earth, the galaxy watched. The Draxian Syndicate did not understand what was coming. They thought the attack on the medics was a strong move. They believed they had shown power, scared Earth, and weakened its spirit. But Earth had something else. A shadow force moving quietly, ready to strike without warning. The Reapers boarded their ships dark and fast. Unlike the slow hospital vessels, these ships were built for stealth and attack. They had weapons designed for silent kills, for breaking through defenses without raising alarms. The Reapers themselves were trained to move like ghosts, unseen and deadly. As the ships left Earth's orbit, many wondered if this was the right path. Some leaders questioned sending such a dangerous force into battle. Could this bring more destruction? Could it start a war that no one could control? But the answer was clear to the Reapers and their leader. The medics had been killed. The war had changed. If Earth did not fight back with everything it had, it would lose more than just the medics. It would lose hope. In secret bases across Earth, scientists worked to upgrade the Reapers' gear. They tested new weapons, new armor, and new technology. They prepared the Reapers for a war unlike any other. The leader studied maps of the Draxian-controlled systems. He searched for weaknesses, for places where the Syndicate had made mistakes. He remembered the stories the medics had sent back before they were silenced. They had been close to discovering something terrible, something the Syndicate wanted to hide. With every piece of information, the Reapers planned their strike. They were not just soldiers now. They were hunters, and the Syndicate was their prey. Back on Earth, families of the medics mourned in silence. They held on to memories and hopes that justice would come. They listened to news of the Reapers with a mix of fear and pride. The Reapers were not heroes the public knew much about, but they were Earth's last line of defense. The war changed that day. No longer would medics be safe. No longer would the rules protect those who helped. The Reapers' mission was clear: to send a message to the galaxy that Earth would not be weak again. The Syndicate, unaware of the Reapers' full power, continued their business as usual. But small signs began to appear: outposts falling silent, supply lines disrupted, strange black ships appearing where none had been seen before. Fear started to spread in the Draxian ranks, though they didn't know what caused it. The Reapers moved like shadows across space. They struck quickly and disappeared before anyone could respond. Their weapons were precise and brutal, targeting key leaders and infrastructure. The galaxy began to whisper about Earth's new weapon. Some called it a new hope, others called it a new terror. But to the Reapers it was simple. They were avenging the medics. They were defending their home. And they would not stop until the price was paid. The leader watched the stars from his ship's bridge. He remembered the faces of the medics who had died, brave souls who went to heal but never returned. They had given their lives for peace. Now, he would give his for revenge. The war had become personal, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Reapers moved like shadows through space. Their ships were dark, silent, and fast, made to slip through enemy defenses without being seen. They did not shout their arrival with loud weapons or flashing lights. Instead, they chose surprise, striking suddenly and disappearing before anyone could react. The war had changed, and so had the way battles were fought. No longer were wars decided by open fights and large armies. Now it was about precision, speed, and fear. The Reapers understood this better than anyone. They were not ordinary soldiers. They were hunters. They moved quietly, but their impact was loud. The first targets were small outposts owned by the Draxian Syndicate. These were places where the enemy gathered supplies, weapons, and information. The Reapers struck quickly, disabling communication towers and destroying weapon caches. They left no time for warnings or evacuations. The Draxians were shocked. They had never seen enemies move so fast and silently. Their forces scrambled to respond, but it was like chasing ghosts. The Reapers were always one step ahead. On board their ships, the Reapers prepared carefully for each attack. They studied maps, intercepted enemy messages, and chose targets that would hurt the Syndicate most. Every strike was planned with care, making sure no innocent lives were lost if it could be helped. Despite their dangerous reputation, the Reapers were not cruel for no reason. They fought to protect their own. They fought for those who could not fight for themselves. One of the Reapers' missions was to find the Draxian medical teams. The medics had always been protected by laws, just like Earth's medics were. But now these Draxian medics were seen as part of the enemy's war machine. The Reapers knew that the Syndicate used medical teams not to heal, but to support their brutal war efforts. Some even conducted cruel experiments, turning innocent beings into weapons. Finding these medical teams was not easy. They were hidden deep inside enemy territory, protected by strong forces. But the Reapers had skills and technology no one else did. They could hack security systems, sneak past guards, and strike where it hurt most. In one daring mission, the Reapers attacked a hidden medical lab. It was a dark place filled with strange machines and cages holding prisoners. The Reapers destroyed the lab's equipment and freed those who were trapped. They took photos and data, sending the information back to Earth. This proof was important. It showed the world the true face of the enemy. The galaxy was watching. News of these strikes spread quickly, and whispers began among the stars. Some saw the Reapers as heroes, defending the innocent and fighting a hidden enemy. Others called them monsters, saying they brought fear and destruction. But the Reapers did not care about opinions. Their mission was clear, and they followed it without question. Inside the Reapers' ranks, there was no room for weakness. They trained hard, preparing for the next strike. They were united by loss and anger. They fought not for glory, but for justice. The leader of the Reapers stood on the bridge of his ship, looking out at the endless stars. He thought about the medics who had died. They were more than just soldiers or doctors. They were symbols of hope, Their deaths were not just a loss for Earth, they were a loss for the entire galaxy. He whispered a promise to the stars. We will not forget. We will make them pay. The Reaper's reputation grew. Stories spread about black ships appearing suddenly, attacking and disappearing. The Draxians grew fearful. They increased their defenses, but the Reapers adapted quickly. Each attack taught them more, making them stronger and faster. The war had entered a new phase. The Reapers were no longer just a secret weapon. They were the spearhead of Earth's response. Their actions changed the way battles were fought and how enemies thought about Earth. Even some allies in the galaxy started to worry. They feared that Earth's new warriors might be too powerful, too relentless. But Earth's leaders said the Reapers were necessary. They were the answer to a crime that could not go unpunished. The Reapers moved deeper into enemy space, cutting off supply routes and hunting for the leaders who ordered the attack on the medics. Every strike was a message. Earth would not be broken, and those who harmed the innocent would face justice. During one mission, the Reapers intercepted a convoy carrying illegal weapons and prisoners. They chose to free the prisoners, many of whom were forced soldiers or slaves. These people had no choice but to fight for the Syndicate. The Reapers offered them a chance at freedom, and some joined their cause. Their knowledge of the enemy was valuable. The war was no longer just about fighting. It was about survival, loyalty, and hope. The Reapers had become more than a force of destruction. They were a symbol of Earth's strength and will, but the leader knew this was only the beginning. The real battle was still ahead. The Reapers had to find the masterminds behind the attack on the medics. They had to uncover the dark secrets hidden deep within the Syndicate. He gathered his team and showed them the latest intelligence. They were close to discovering the truth, something terrible that the medics had found before they were killed. The Reapers prepared for their most dangerous mission yet. They would have to go deeper into enemy territory than ever before. The risks were high, and the enemy was stronger there. But the Reapers had a simple rule: no fear, no mercy. The galaxy watched, waiting to see what would happen next. The medics had come to heal. The Reapers had come to fight. The war was far from over, and the shadows of the Reapers grew longer every day. The Reapers' strikes were shaking the Draxian Syndicate. Outposts fell silent, supplies disappeared, and fear spread in their ranks. But while the Reapers were hunting their enemies, something else was happening, something bigger, darker. In the quiet rooms of Earth's command center, scientists and officers studied the information the Reapers had gathered. Pieces of a terrible puzzle were coming together. The medics hadn't been killed by chance. Their deaths had been planned. The data showed something horrifying: a secret lab deep inside Draxian territory. This was no ordinary research center. It was a place where terrible experiments were happening. Experiments that went against everything the medics stood for. The lab was focused on creating new weapons, biological weapons, viruses, plagues, and other dangers designed not just to kill but to spread and destroy entire populations. Worse, the lab was also experimenting on living beings, twisting life to serve war. The medics had found this lab before they were attacked. They had sent back partial information, hoping Earth would understand and act. The attack on the medics was meant to stop the truth from spreading, but it failed. The Reapers had that information now, and they were more determined than ever. The leaders on Earth made a decision. The Reapers would not only hunt the Syndicate's soldiers and ships, they would target this lab and destroy it. They would expose the Syndicate's darkest secrets to the galaxy. This was no easy task. The lab was heavily guarded, hidden beneath layers of defenses far from any known systems. To get there, the Reapers would have to cross dangerous space, face strong enemy forces, and risk everything. The Reapers prepared. Their ships were loaded with weapons, supplies, and new technology designed for the mission. The soldiers trained day and night, knowing this could be their most important fight yet. The leader of the Reapers gathered his team. "This mission is about more than revenge," he said. "It's about stopping a danger that could destroy countless lives. We are not just fighting soldiers. We are fighting an idea. The idea that war has no limits." The Reapers set out. The journey was long and difficult. They passed through asteroid fields, avoided enemy patrols, and used every trick to stay hidden. Their ships moved like shadows, avoiding detection. When they finally reached the lab's location, the Reapers saw it was worse than they had imagined. Massive structures rose from the planet's surface, towers, labs, and cages. Lights blinked across the facility, and patrol ships flew overhead. The Reapers landed far from the main base. They moved on foot through dark tunnels, carefully avoiding traps and guards. The silence was heavy, broken only by the distant hum of machines. Inside the lab, the Reapers found evidence of cruelty. Cages held creatures twisted by experiments. Reports showed how the Syndicate had kidnapped innocent beings from many worlds, forcing them to become weapons or test subjects. The Reapers destroyed everything they could. They planted explosives, hacked computers, and copied data to send back to Earth. The leader found a room filled with data terminals. He scanned the files and saw the names of those responsible, leaders who had ordered the attacks on the medics and supported the creation of these weapons. As the Reapers moved to leave, alarms suddenly blared. The Syndicate had found them. Forces rushed in and a fierce battle began. The Reapers fought with everything they had. Their training and technology gave them an edge, but the enemy was strong and desperate. Explosions shook the tunnels and the air was thick with smoke. Slowly, the Reapers pushed forward. They covered each other, fought through waves of enemies, and made their way back to their ships. As they escaped, the lab exploded behind them, flames rising into the dark sky. The Reapers sent the data to Earth. The evidence was clear, proof of the Syndicate's crimes and the reason for the medics' deaths. The galaxy reacted with shock. Many worlds that had stayed neutral began to speak out. The Draxian Syndicate faced growing isolation. Some leaders called for peace talks, but the Syndicate refused. On Earth, the families of the medics finally felt some justice. They saw that their loved ones had not died in vain. The Reapers were fighting not just for revenge, but for the future. The leader of the Reapers looked at the stars again. He knew the fight was far from over, but for the first time he saw hope, a chance to bring peace even in the darkest times. The medics had tried to heal the galaxy. The Reapers had come to stop those who would destroy it. After the destruction of the secret lab, the galaxy's attention was fixed on the conflict like never before. The Draxian Syndicate, once seen as a strong and untouchable force, was now facing pressure from all sides. Some worlds that had been quiet before began questioning their loyalties. The information the Reapers brought back was clear proof of the Syndicate's cruelty. It wasn't just a fight between two sides, it was a fight for the soul of the galaxy. On Earth, the news brought a mix of relief and worry. The Reapers had dealt a big blow to the enemy, but the Syndicate was not defeated yet. The war was far from over, and the Reapers knew the enemy would retaliate with everything they had. The Reapers' leader gathered his team again. This time his voice was calm but strong. "They will come for us now," he said. "The Syndicate will strike back harder than ever. We need to be ready." The Reapers prepared for the inevitable. They improved their defenses, trained harder, and worked closely with Earth's leaders and scientists. Every success came with a new challenge. Every victory pushed the enemy to respond with more force. But the Reapers were not just waiting. They decided to go on the offensive again. This time they targeted the Syndicate's supply lines. The enemy's power depended on moving weapons, food, and troops across huge distances. If the Reapers could cut those lines, the Syndicate's ability to fight would weaken. The missions were dangerous. The Reapers had to strike in enemy space where the Syndicate controlled the skies and the stars. But they had something the enemy didn't: surprise. They used small, fast ships to attack supply convoys. They sabotaged space stations and supply depots. Sometimes they captured enemy vessels and used them to trick their enemies. Each mission was like a game of cat and mouse. The Reapers moved quietly, striking fast and disappearing. Their tactics made the Syndicate nervous. The once confident enemy began doubting their control. In one mission, the Reapers captured a high-ranking Syndicate officer. He was the one who had planned the attack on Earth's medics. The Reapers interrogated him carefully. He revealed secrets about the Syndicate's plans, their weaknesses, and their leaders' fears. This information was a gift. It helped Earth's commanders plan their next moves. It showed that the Syndicate was worried, that their confidence was cracking, but the Syndicate was not willing to give up. In response to the Reapers' attacks, they launched a massive strike on one of Earth's outer colonies. The colony was home to thousands of civilians, many families who had hoped to live peacefully far from the war. The attack was brutal. Buildings were destroyed and lives were lost. The colony's defenses were overwhelmed. Earth's leaders were shocked and angered by the attack on innocent people. The Reapers' leader made a decision. "We will protect our people," he said. "We will make sure no more innocent lives are lost." The Reapers were sent to the colony. Their mission was not just to fight but to help. They worked alongside Earth's rescue teams, helping to evacuate survivors, repair damage, and rebuild. The people of the colony saw the Reapers in a new light. They were no longer just mysterious warriors. They were protectors. They were human. At the same time, the Reapers continued their fight against the Syndicate. Their attacks became sharper, more focused. They targeted enemy commanders, cutting the Syndicate's leadership. Slowly, the tide of the war began to turn. The Syndicate was forced to defend more and attack less. Their soldiers grew tired and fearful, but the Reapers knew the fight was far from over. The Syndicate's leaders were dangerous. They would stop at nothing to keep their power. In a secret meeting, Earth's leaders and the Reapers' commander planned their final move. They decided to target the Syndicate's capital, a massive, heavily fortified city at the heart of their territory. The mission would be the most dangerous yet. The Syndicate's defenses were strongest there. The Reapers would have to use everything they had learned to succeed. The leader spoke to his team. "This is the moment we've prepared for," he said. "We fight for our fallen medics, for the innocent, and for the future of the galaxy. We will bring the Syndicate to its knees." The Reapers trained harder than ever. They tested new weapons and strategies. They studied the city's defenses, looking for weaknesses. When the day finally came, the Reapers launched their attack. Their ships swooped down on the city like a storm. Explosions lit up the sky and the sound of battle echoed across the stars. The fight was fierce. The Syndicate's soldiers fought with desperation, but the Reapers were better prepared. They moved with precision, striking key targets and breaking through defenses. Inside the city, the Reapers faced their toughest challenge: enemy soldiers who fought to the last breath. The battles were close and personal, but the Reapers pushed forward. At the heart of the city, the Reapers confronted the Syndicate's leaders. The enemy tried to negotiate, offering peace if the Reapers would stop their attack, but the Reapers knew better. These were the same leaders who had attacked the medics and started the war. They could not be trusted. The Reapers continued their fight, forcing the Syndicate's leaders to surrender or be captured. When the battle ended, the city was in ruins. The Syndicate's power was broken. The war was over. The Reapers stood victorious but tired. They had lost comrades along the way, and the scars of war ran deep. On Earth, celebrations mixed with mourning. The medics' deaths had sparked a war, but their memory had also inspired a fight for justice and peace. The Reapers returned home as heroes, but they knew their work was not done. The galaxy was fragile, and peace was a gift that needed protecting. The Reapers promised to watch over it, ready to stand against any who would threaten it again. The war had changed them all. It had taken much, but it had given something too. A reason to fight, a hope for a better future, and a reminder that even in the darkest times, people could come together to protect what was right. The war was finally over. The Syndicate was broken and the galaxy was quiet again. But peace was not something that came easily or quickly. It was something that needed to be earned and protected. The Reapers, who had been the sharp edge of the fight, now faced a new challenge: helping the galaxy heal. When the Reapers returned to Earth, they were greeted as heroes. People cheered for them, and many wanted to hear their stories. But the Reapers themselves did not feel like heroes. They had seen too much pain, too much loss. They had fought in darkness, and the scars would not fade easily. The leader of the Reapers looked at the crowd with tired eyes. He thought about the medics who had been attacked, those who had died trying to help others. Their faces were never far from his mind. He spoke softly but clearly. "This victory is not just ours. It belongs to all who fought, all who hoped for peace. But peace is more than the end of war. It is the beginning of healing." The galaxy had been through a lot. Worlds that once traded and shared culture were now suspicious of each other. Trust had been broken. Rebuilding it would take time and effort. The Reapers worked with diplomats and leaders from different planets. They helped share the truth about what had happened during the war. They showed the proof of the Syndicate's crime so that no one could deny the danger that had threatened them all. Some planets were slow to listen. Old fears and old grudges were hard to overcome. But the Reapers did not give up. They traveled from world to world, meeting people, listening to their stories, and reminding them that peace was possible. At the same time, the Reapers helped repair the damage left by the war. They helped rebuild colonies, restore lost communication lines, and bring medical supplies to places that had suffered. Many families who had lost loved ones found comfort in the Reapers' presence. The soldiers had been strangers during the war, but now they became friends and protectors. On Earth, the medics who had survived the attack returned to their work with even greater determination. They were honored not just as healers but as heroes who had sparked a fight to save the galaxy. The Reapers knew that their role had changed. They were no longer just fighters. They were guardians, but they never forgot the cost of war. The leader often visited a quiet place on Earth, a small garden filled with flowers from many worlds. It was a place to remember those lost and to think about the future. One day, as he stood there, a young child came up to him. The child asked, "Why did you fight so hard?" The leader smiled gently. "Because some things are worth protecting. Because when people are hurt for no reason, we must stand up. Because hope is stronger than fear." The child nodded slowly, understanding more than words could say. The Reaper's story became a lesson for all. It showed that even when darkness comes, people can rise to fight for what is right. It showed that courage, hope, and unity can change the course of history. In time, the galaxy began to heal. Old enemies talked. New friendships were formed. The memory of the medics and the bravery of the Reapers inspired a generation to believe in peace. But the Reapers remained watchful. They knew the galaxy was full of challenges and peace could never be taken for granted. They stood ready, guardians of hope, protectors of life. The war was over, but the story was just beginning.